What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. It's a great weekend. Conference championships went down. We got the playoff set. So it's going to be annoying, though. Now we got to wait 2 weeks till we actually see the first playoff games. I should go. I should go to Happy Valley, Jimmy, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what the tickets are like. Are you going to go to Columbus?
No, absolutely not.
Well, we got that set. We got NFL Week 14 to talk about as well. So let's get to it here. Conference USA Championship on Friday. We had 3 games. Then Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks winning 52-12 over Western Kentucky. Just annihilation for JSU. Rich Rodriguez gets his conference title, and I know there's been a lot of speculation about his job and whether he's going to move on somewhere. Haven't heard any updates yet on that, but Tyler Huff, masterful season from the quarterback. Didn't have to do a lot passing, but that's been the success of the Gamecocks. The last 8 games of the season, they switched to the run-based attack. 23 carries, 167, a touchdown on the ground for Huff, 2 touchdown passes as well. I was just pissed, man. I had the under, and of course the over hit by 1 score. JSU had to score at the end. It's just annoying. Caden Veltkamp for the Hilltoppers there. Not a great game. 60%, 141 touchdown, 2 fumbles. Trey Stewart, excellent. Again, I mentioned on the ground. That's what Jacksonville State really has been doing of late. 27 carries, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also chipped in 3 receptions for 54 yards. You had a 100-yard rusher for Western Kentucky as well. Elijah Young, 19 carries, 108 yards, 3 catches for -9 yards there. And, defensively, I guess I'm going to go with the bottom guy there, Jacksonville State. Safety Travis Franklin Jr., 2 tackles, both solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass defense. Jacksonville State ran for 386 yards in this game. 6.9 per clip and 5 rushing touchdowns. So completely dominant. Jacksonville State -4.5 covered over 58.5. And these 2 teams go into bowl season. Jacksonville State in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl on December 20th. That's Friday against Ohio, the MAC champs. Western Kentucky heads to Boca Raton Bowl December 18th against James Madison, one of the first couple of bowl games of the season. Mountain West Championship, over 58.5. Mountain West Championship, number 10, Boise State, 21-7 over number 20, UNLV. All 3 home teams won on Friday. And on the blue turf, Boise got out to a 21-0 lead, held it. They didn't have to do much in the second half. UNLV defense really shut them down, as their touchdown was the only score of the entire second half. It's kind of crazy, but my boy Ashton Genty ran wild again. 32 carries, 209 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 14 yards. Including, I think it was a 61-yarder before halftime. 75-yarder, I should say. My bad. But 132 yards, Jimmy. That's all he needs to break Barry's record, and he's going to get one more game at the very least in the college football playoff. They have a bye, so we'll have to wait about a month to see him again.
I hope he can do it.
I think he will. You never know who. So based off the bracket here, the two opponents that they could play. It's either SMU or Penn State.
If you're Boise, you're really hoping for SMU there. I don't know how Genty will be able to run against Penn State.
Yeah, that'll be tough for me, man. It'll be tough for me if Penn State has to play in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be rooting for Genty to get the record, but not score. But he needs to score. Granted, though, again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Heisman ballots should all be in at this point. And I will say one thing, okay? This is probably going to be the last Heisman discussion we'll have until the ceremony actually takes place. But I forget who was on call for this game. But whoever it was made a great point. Made two great points, actually. One, if you already had your Heisman ballots in, you don't deserve a Heisman ballot because you have to watch conference championship weekend especially if there's guys playing that are in the mix, like Ashton Genty. And for two, it's the best player in college football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what player has done more to elevate their team than Ashton Genty? Travis Hunter's great. Travis Hunter's a great player. Plays both sides of the ball. Most snaps by far of anyone. Where was Colorado playing this weekend again? Oh, yeah, they were on the couch watching because they weren't in the Big 12 championship. Because Travis Hunter, while he is great, he didn't elevate his team enough to get them to a conference championship game nor to the CFP. So I think Ashton Genty, that's a big case why he should win the Heisman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, to me at least. Hunter plays great on both sides of the ball, but Genty plays elite, game-changing play every time he's on the field. It's not just being really good at playing running back. It's being the best running back, college football running back, probably of the 21st century, and I would say that with a straight face. Like, I would say he played better than Zeke, Melvin Gordon, any of them. I would say with straight face, he's played better than all those running backs in the 21st century in college football.
Yeah, and it's also, the same conversation we have a lot when we're talking NFL MVP, and that's why Saquon is in the NFL MVP conversation this year, not just because of the stats, but because, again, what player has done the most to elevate his team more than Saquon Barkley? But that's a different conversation in the NFL. Anyways, Haj Malik Williams struggled in this one, a sub 50% completion, just 110 yards. Pick did have some rushing yards, 21 carries, 56 yards. Maddox Madsen didn't have to do a lot in the quarterback position for Boise, 66.7%, 158 touchdown rushing score as well. And defensively, I'll go with Boise linebacker Marco Notarini. 2 tackles, both them solos. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Jaden Virgin Morgan, also great game for him. He's been a great player for them all year. Boise minus 3.5 covered under 57.5, which I had. American Athletic Championship. How about number 24 Army blowing out Tulane 35-14? America, first ever conference championship, I'm pretty sure, for Army, because they have never really been in a conference. But yeah, I mean, this is not exactly what I thought would happen because Army came in as a 5.5-point dog. But it was, I think to me, probably it was just the atmosphere, like the atmosphere, West Point, home game, and you got Bryson Daly. That's ridiculous. 2 passes the entire game. 2. And he
That's a lot for Army.
Completed both of them. Not this year. They had been passing the ball a lot more, just like their counterparts in Navy. 25 carries, 126 yards, and how about 4 rushing touchdowns for Bryson Daly in this one? Yeah, Darian Mensah for the Green Wave, 68%, 209, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 41 yards on the ground, 10 carries. Kanye Udo was fantastic on the ground as well. The Army running back, 158 on 20 carries and a touchdown. You had Tulane wide receiver Mario Williams up over 106 for 109 and a score. And just like the Jacksonville State game, how about 55 carries, 338 yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns for the Black Knights in this one, 6.1 per carry. Excellent ground production as they head into the Army-Navy game this weekend. Defensively, I'm going with Army, of course. Linebacker Andon Thomas, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss, and a pick. Army plus 4.5 wins outright over 46.5. Big 12 championship game, the Dr. Pepper Big 12 championship game, if we want to be specific. Number 15, Arizona State, 45-19 over number 16, Iowa State. Just complete demolition of the Cyclones. Really turned. The third quarter was pivotal for the Sun Devils, 21-0 in that one. 3 straight turnovers for Iowa State. And like I said, Arizona State capitalized all 3 times, scoring touchdowns. Sam Levitt was phenomenal. 219 passing, 70.6%, 3 touchdowns. He also had 33 rushing yards and a score. Rocco Becht, it was a good day to start. Iowa State went up 7-3, and then they kept coming, and eventually, like I said, the Arizona State defense just shut them down, forced the ball. 60% for Becht, 214, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 23 yards. But the man of the game, and I think he won the offensive MVP in this one, Cam Scadaboo was just phenomenal. 16 carries, 170 yards, 10.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 38 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So 3 total scores on the day. Also 0 for 1 passing. He made a great play in a scramble drill kind of thing on a wildcat snap and threw the ball away to a receiver that fell incomplete. So 100-yard game for Iowa State's wide receiver Jaden Higgins, 7 for 115. 2 touchdown day for Arizona State's wide receiver Xavier Guillory, the former Idaho State Bengal. And defensively, I got to go with the bottom guy there, ASU defensive lineman Clayton Smith. 2 tackles, a solo, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense. Arizona State plus 1.5 wins outright over 51.5. I had the under. MAC championship, good Lord. This one and the Sun Belt were just horrendous games to watch. Ohio, 38-3. Just, I mean, they might as well have bombed the freaking city of Athens, Ohio, because that's what it felt like in this one. 38-3 over Miami, Ohio. The defending MAC champs, by the way, going for 2 in a row were the Red Hawks, and Parker Navarro said, no, sir. Him and Anthony Tyus just crushed the Red Hawks defense all day. 4 total scores for Navarro, 2 passing, 2 rushing, 235 passing on 74.1%, really efficient there. 67 rushing yards to go along with those 2 scores. Anthony Tyus, like I mentioned, the Bobcats running back, 27 carries, 151 yards, touchdown, 2 catches, 22 yards. Miami couldn't get anything going on offense. I mean, you look at Brett Gabbert, the consummate veteran, 56%, just 127 yards and an interception. And they couldn't run the ball. That's what they had been doing down the stretch to get them into this game. Keon Mosey shut down completely. 28 yards on 11 carries, just 2.5 yards per carry there. Also had a 2-yard reception. And defensively, I mean, there was a lot of great performances on the Ohio side. But I do think I'm going to go with Miami, though. Linebacker Ty Wise, big tackle number, 17 tackles. Only 3 of those solos, though. 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. Ohio plus 2.5 wins outright, under 43.5. That's crazy. One team scores 38 and the under hits. Go Dogs, baby! SEC Championship, number 5, Georgia, 22-19 over number 2, Texas in overtime. And it was fantastic to watch Georgia play this game. It started off very rough. I mean, they got an interception very early and couldn't take advantage of it. Had to punt the ball. And then, the injuries right around halftime were ridiculous. Clayton Thorson. I always say Clayton Thorson. It's Brett Thorson, the punter. Clayton Thorson, former quarterback, NFL. Anyways, Brett Thorson, the punter for Georgia. Haven't heard officially, but I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL based off the injury. That's what it looked like. And Carson Beck, elbow injury right before halftime, strip sack, trying to throw the Hail Mary. 2 big ones. But I will say Gunnar Stockton played very admirable in the second half. 75%, 71 yards. Did have an interception, but and then he got rocked. he got lit up, knocked his helmet off, had to come out for the final play of the game. And what do you know it? Carson Beck had enough strength in his elbow to hand the ball off to Trevor Etienne for the game-winning touchdown. And the call by Reese Davis was just phenomenal. Or not Reese Davis. What's the guy that does it with Kirk? Is it? No, it's not Reese Davis. I don't remember. Anyways, it was pretty special to watch Georgia win the SEC championship, win back-to-back games against Texas this year, sweep them, and see if we see him in the playoffs. But Quinn Ewers, really, I mean, Texas went up and down the field most of the day with the passing game, 58.7%, 358 touchdown, 2 picks, though. Costly in the end, stifling drives there. Mentioned Carson Beck. He was struggling even before he got injured, 53.8%, just 56 yards, and the fumble before halftime. But for the second straight game, though, against Texas, Trevor Etienne was the difference. And he was questionable coming into this one, wearing a Kevlar jacket under his pads there to protect his ribs, coming in with a rib injury there. But 94 yards on 16 carries, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches for 28 yards. He was the difference for this Georgia offense, especially in the second half. Ripped off the one really long run there, got the 2 touchdowns in the second half. And, of course, the game winner at the buzzer in overtime. Texas, on the other hand, they couldn't run the ball. Quintravian Wisner there, only 51 yards, 19 carries, 2.7 yards per carry. Again, Texas passing-wise was just shredding Georgia's secondary. Matthew Golden, 8 for 162. DeAndre Moore Jr., 9 for 114 and a score. And then a whole host of defensive performances in this game. Of course, I'm going to go on the Georgia side there. I'm going to go with Georgia defensive back Dalen Everett, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 pass defense, and 2 picks. Honorable mention for me is Warren Brinson, though. He showed up all day inside for the Georgia D-line. Georgia plus 2.5 wins outright, and under 50.5. Sunbelt title game, Marshall. Again, I mentioned this was pretty much the same thing that happened in the MAC championship. 31-3 drubbing of Louisiana. This was not a quarterback game per se. Braylon Braxton for the Herd, 69.2%, 193, 2 scores, 16 carries, 66 yards. I think Chandler Fields got injured in this game. I wasn't paying as much attention to this one as I was the Big Ten and the ACC title games. But it seems like from the stats, Fields did get injured. Just 50%, 4 of 8, 104, 2 carries for 14 yards. And then, I mean, once Fields went down, they were down to their 3rd-string quarterback already because Chandler Rogers was this, or not Chandler Rogers. Woolen, Ben Woolen was their starting quarterback, and he was inactive for this game, wasn't able to play because of injury. Or Woolridge, Ben Woolridge. Yeah, that's the guy. But wasn't able to play, so they were down to Chandler Fields. And now you're down to your third string quarterback in a conference championship game. I mean, that's just a difficult situation for the Raging Cajuns, especially when Daniel Beal is a freshman. And he played like a freshman, 37.5%, 95 yards a pick. Is just a difficult situation all around. Like I said, couldn't run the ball either. Zylan Perry there, 25 yards on 6 carries. Good 4.2 yards per carry, but only 6 touches. Jordan Houston up over 100 for the Herd, 17 for 117 a score. And defensively, how about the day for I'm going to go with the guy that I'm pretty sure he leads the nation in sacks. Mike Green, D lineman for the Marshall. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles lost, 1 pass defense. 17 sacks now this year. Just ridiculous production. Marshall, plus 4.5, wins outright under 57.5. Big Ten Championship, number 1 Oregon, 45-37 over number 3 Penn State. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a disappointing result from Penn State. I mean, going up against the only FBS team that's undefeated. And I thought it was a very good performance from the Nittany Lions. Drew Aller was not close to as accurate as he had been most of the year. Threw the 2 interceptions that probably cost him the game. But to get it to a 1-score result, I thought it was a very good performance from Penn State, especially offensively. Probably one of the worst performances defensively for Tom Allen's squad. But you got to be excited going into the playoff for Penn State because they've had some outbursts, but being able to put 37 up on the Oregon defense, I thought was encouraging nonetheless. You got anything on the Big Ten title?
It's been years since Ohio State's been in it, so I haven't watched it in a while. At least it was watchable, from what I hear. Glad I'm not seeing like Purdue or Northwestern or Wisconsin on the other side and being borderline unwatchable.
Right, and this is why the Big Ten and SEC and every conference except for the MAC and the Sun Belt have done away with divisions because you want the best 2 teams. And there's debate on whether Penn State is the second best team in the Big Ten or not, but based off their record and based off the tie-breaking procedures, which there wasn't any tie breaks needed because Penn State had less Big Ten losses than Ohio State and Indiana. So, or actually, no, I think they tied with Indiana loss-wise in the Big Ten, but they won some tiebreaker there. Anyways, Dylan Gabriel, he was really good. 68.8%, 283, 4 touchdown passes, 17 rushing yards. Drew Aller, like I mentioned, 51.3%, 226, 3 scores. Passing, 2 picks, 54 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, so 4 total scores for him. The running attack, this was the best rushing performance by Penn State in quite a while. Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton both over 100 yards. Allen 14 for 124, touchdown, 3 catches, 15 yards. Singleton 10 for 105, 4 catches for 43 yards and a receiving touchdown there. Tez Johnson just ate all night for the Ducks. 11 receptions, 181 yards and a touchdown. My boy Tyler Warren hopefully locked up the Mackey Award in this one. Not sure, not completely sure. But again, Harold Fannin wasn't playing this week for Bowling Green. So Tyler Warren broke the Big Ten single season receiving record for tight ends. with his 7 catch for 84-yard performance. 2 touchdown day for Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq, including the first one of the game. And defensively, I'm going with Oregon defensive back Nico Reed. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 pass defense, and a pick. Oregon minus 3.5 covered over 51.5. 82 this one. ACC Championship, number 17, Clemson gets into the playoff. 34-31 over number 8, SMU. Walk-off 56-yarder from, I forget his first name, but the kicker, Hooser, for the Tigers here. And it wasn't going to be a game because Clemson was rolling. They were up 21-7 pretty quickly in the first quarter. And then they were up 2 scores, I think, in the fourth quarter. SMU storming back to tie it at 31. Too much time for Cade Klubnik to get them in field goal range, and Hooser bombed it from 56. Clemson goes to the playoff. Kevin Jennings for the Mustangs, 62%, 304, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 10 carries, 35 yards, a rushing score, and a fumble. 4 total touchdowns for him. 4 touchdowns for Cade Klubnik as well, 58.5%, 262, 4 touchdown passes, 21 rushing yards on 14 carries. 100-yard night for SMU's running back Brashard Smith, 24 for 113, 6 catches, 34 yards, a receiving touchdown. That was interesting. Clemson couldn't run the ball. That was a big thing in this one. Phil Maffa, only 28 yards on 13 carries, 2.2 yards per carry. Very paltry in this one, but they could throw the ball because Bryant Wesco Jr., one of the freshman receivers they have that has been outstanding this year, 8 catches, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdown night for their tight end, Jake Brenningstool, as well. And a lot of great performances on defense. I'm going to go with Clemson defensive end TJ Parker, though. 8 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 3.5 tackles for loss. Clemson plus 2.5 wins outright over 56.5, 65. FCS playoffs, second round. Number 3, South Dakota State, beating up on number 14, Montana, 35-18. Kiali Ayat for the Grizz, 59.4%, 231, 2 scores, 2 picks, and 25 rushing yards there. Mark Gronowski, he was efficient all day. Didn't have to do a lot, though. 75%, 151, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a 21-yard reception as well. The Jackrabbits ran the ball very efficiently. Amar Johnson, 16 carries, 103 yards, and a 16-yard reception. See there, Montana wasn't able to run the ball. 21 yards for running back Kevin Harris, or Xavier Harris, on his only carry of the game. That was their leading rusher outside of the quarterback there. 100-yard day for Griffin Wild. Great player for the Jacks, 7 for 114, 2 touchdowns. A lot of good defensive plays in this one. 40-yard pick, 6 from linebacker Adam Bach on the Jackrabbit side. Jackrabbits safety Tucker Large also with a pick, and Montana corner Ronald Jackson with a fumble recovery. Montana did cover, though, plus 22.5 over 44.5. And South Dakota State moves on now to play Montana State. Or no, Incarnate Word on Saturday. Speaking of number 6, Incarnate Word, here we go. 13-6 over number 11, Villanova. The lowest scoring game of the second round here. Zach Calzada for the Cardinals, 59.5%, 182 touchdown, 87 rushing yards as well. Connor Watkins struggled all day for the Wildcats, 44.4%, 103 a pick. Big game on the ground for UIW running back Lontrell Turner, 18 carries, 120 yards, and a minus 2-yard reception. Once again, we see a team that could run the ball. A team can't run the ball on the other side. 36 yards rushing for David Abbott on the Wildcat side. And defensively, got UIW defensive back Mason Chambers with a pick, and Villanova defensive back Ethan Potter with a fumble recovery. Nova plus 11.5 covered, under 54.5 easily. 19 in that one. Low scoring in this one as well. Number 7, Mercer, 17-10 over number 10, Rhode Island. Your Rams, Jimmy, lost
Can't believe it.
I told you, man, no road team was going to win this weekend. I thought all 8 of the top seeds were going to make it, and they did. Hunter Helms for the Rams there, 66.7%, 266 touchdown a pick. Whit Neubauer for the Bears, very poor day, 50%, 57 yards and a touchdown. Does not make me feel good about the Bears going into next week in the quarterfinals, but they have a guy on the ground that can get it done. Dwayne McGee having a great year, 21 carries, 114 rushing yards there again. The other team couldn't run the ball. 36 yards for Malik Grant, 2.8 yards per carry for the Rams running back. Marquise Buchanan, excellent day through the air, though, for the Rams. 11 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown. And the lone defensive performance notable in this one, safety Miles Redding, 25-yard pick, 6 for Mercer. I believe that was their first score of the game. Maybe it was the last score of the game. I can't remember. But nonetheless, probably the one that made a difference in this one. Rhode Island plus 7.5 covered by the hook under 48.5. Number 1, Montana State thrashing UT Martin 49-17. Touchdown, Tommy, baby. 88% completion, 300 yards even, 4 passing touchdowns, 19 yards on the ground as well. Kincaid Dent for the Skyhawks struggled. 51.7%, 167, 2 touchdowns. Scottrey Humphrey for Montana State, 100-yard day for him on the ground, 11 carries, 102, and a score. And again, it's the same thing every single game. The Skyhawks couldn't run the ball, 32 yards for their leading rusher, Patrick Smith there. He had a really solid season, but not against this Bobcats defense. 100-yard receiving performance for UT Martin's wide receiver Trevante Rucker, 6 for 107, 2 scores, 2 touchdown day for wide receiver Taco Dowler for Montana State, and also 2 touchdowns for Montana State wide receiver Ty McCulloch, 1 receiving, 1 rushing in this game. Montana State minus 19 covered easily, over 54.5, 66 in that one. Number 2, North Dakota State beating up on number 15, Abilene Christian, 51-31. Cam Miller was really good. 4 total scores for him, 69%, 274, 3 touchdown passes, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. It was a tough day for Maverick McIver for the Wildcats there, 62.5%, 153. Touchdown pass, 2 picks, though, and a fumble. Big rushing numbers. This is kind of the opposite we've seen all the games. The losing team actually had the big rushing attack in this one. Sam Hicks for ACU, 16 carries, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches for 12 yards. And this was a big comeback from North Dakota State, actually. They were down 14-3, 17-3, actually, in the second quarter, and came all the way back and ended up winning by 20. But defensively, there was a lot of special teams defensive plays for NDSU. Linebacker Logan Kopp, 1 fumble recovery and a 31-yard pick 6. You had linebacker Marcus Gully with a pick as well, and wide receiver Jackson Williams, 100-yard kick return touchdown. That actually was the first touchdown on the day for the Bison. And Abilene Christian defensive lineman Kagan Roach with the interception defensively as well. Abilene Christian plus 21.5 covered, over 58.5, 82 in that one. Another high-scoring one went down at the Dakota Dome for the number 4 South Dakota Coyotes, 42-31 over number 13 Tarleton State. Victor Gabalis for the Texans, 74.2%, 379, 4 touchdowns, but 3 picks. That's probably what cost them this one. Did have 13 rushing yards as well. Aiden Bauman was excellent in terms of efficiency, 81.8%. Only 213 yards, though, 2 touchdowns. Big day for Travis Teese, the Coyotes running back, 25 carries, 130 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, also caught 4 balls for 40 yards. 100-yard receivers for Tarleton, Darius Cooper and Cody Jackson. Cooper, 9 for 161, 3 touchdowns, excellent day, even in the loss. Cody Jackson there, 4 for 104 and a touchdown. And also, how about South Dakota wide receiver Quarren Adams with a 70-yard rushing touchdown in this one? The Coyotes interceptions coming from defensive backs Tim White, Mike Reed, and Shahid Barros there. Tarleton State plus 18.5 covered over 56.5. So it's a good weekend if you had the dog spreads. A lot of them covered, even though they lost in the FCS, which was the case. Not the case in this one. Number 5 UC Davis blowing up number 12 Illinois State 42-10. Jimmy, your Redbirds there.
Disappointing my
Had
home
a tough
state.
day in Cali. Because Miles Hastings, they ran into him. 75.8%, 403, 3 touchdowns for the Aggies quarterback. Tommy Rittenhouse, it was a difficult day, 62.5%, 233, touchdown, a pick. Did have 44 rushing yards as well. They put in Jake Rubley late in this one, and he was not good at all, 35.7%, 33 yards and 13 rushing. Lan Larison, how about the day for him? 22 carries, 104 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 87 yards. The Aggies running back there, great day for him. 100-yard performances on both sides in the receiving game. Wide receiver Daniel Sobkowitz for the Redbirds, 10 for 111. And his teammate Eddie Casper, also big receiving day, 11 receptions there, just 73 yards though. Did have a touchdown. CJ Hutton, the leading receiver for the Aggies, up over 100, 7 for 104 and a touchdown. And the lone interception on the day, UC Davis defensive back Wyatt Gardner. UC Davis minus 10.5 covered easily, under 55.5. In the final game of the FCS second round here, number 8 Idaho, the Vandals beating up on the Mountain Hawks of Lehigh 34-13 in the Kibbe Dome. Jack Lane for the Vandals, efficient, 72.7%, 318, 3 touchdowns. Lehigh playing a couple guys there. Hayden Johnson, the starter, sub 50%, 48.1% to be exact, 143 a pick. Did have 69 rushing yards, so good performance there. Dante Perry came in there at the end, completed all 4 of his passes for 59 yards and a rushing touchdown. Tough day on the ground for Idaho. The Deshaun Buchanan really couldn't get a lot going, 42 yards, just 2.8 yards per carry. But they had the receiving game going. Wide receiver Jordan Dwyer, 7 for 166 and 2 touchdowns. Oh, yeah, and they also got help from the defense there. Idaho linebacker Zach Johnson, 74-yard pick 6 off of Hayden Johnson. Probably not related. Idaho minus 17.5, covered under 50.5. Let's go to the NFL. Eagles, go Birds, 22-16 over the Panthers. Yeah, it was a close one. There were a lot of frustration in Philly this weekend. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith specifically, multiple times they showed those guys on the bench kind of arguing, squabbling, whatever you want to call it. Is just they weren't happy, and I understand, like, the passing game wasn't going, and really Saquon was the catalyst for the offense, like he has been all year. Although he should have freaking scored. They should have looked at it. Nick Sirianni should have challenged, because I'm pretty sure he got in on the one run he had. And of course, Jalen Hurts freaking scored a rushing touchdown on 3rd down. So annoyed. Anyways, Saquon, excellent day though. 20 carries, 124 yards. Broke LaShawn McCoy's single-season rushing record for the Eagles. And he's on pace. He is on pace to break Eric Dickerson's record, which I'm so excited about. How crazy would that be? We get 2 rushing records in the same year. Ashton Genty in college and Saquon in the NFL.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild. I will say though, if he doesn't break it before week 17, I'm not claiming it. If you need the extra game, it doesn't count.
I think it will be interesting.
Yeah. I would say, like, if he ends up in a situation kind of like Adrian Pearson did in 2012, where he finishes like 8 or 9 yards short, and it's like an interesting conversation of, like, do we consider this like the best rushing season ever, or just the benefit of that extra game got him over?
Well, that was BS. It was freaking Vikings. The Vikings should have freaking played him and freaking got him the record. By the
Nah,
way,
man, we had to make the playoffs that year. That's why we stopped. It was more
no,
important to make
they
the playoffs.
should have gotten him the record because I think the Eagles are committed to getting Saquon the record.
But the Eagles are great. That's the thing. The Vikings team back in 2012 was good, but it really was just Adrian Peterson and a very stout defense carrying a bad quarterback and bad everything else. Like we only made the wild card. Like you guys are fighting for the first seed in the NFC.
Yeah, very very doable schedule. Thing is, unfortunately, like they got to go against Pittsburgh this weekend, so it's going to be tough to get the yardage numbers against them. But you got 3 straight division games to end the year: Giants, Cowboys, Washington, and all 3 of those in the bottom third of rushing defense. So very doable in terms of those 3 games. And that's the thing. I think they will still need to keep playing. You never know if Detroit slips up. I think they need lines to lose too, though, because I think I don't know if the Eagles. I think the Lions have one. Their one loss was to the Bucks, so that's their one conference loss. The Eagles have 2 conference losses, which is both their losses. So,
yeah. Although I think the rest of the season, I think Lions are playing exclusively in the NFC because I know they still have a game on the Packers. They still have to play a game against the Vikings, and they still have to play a game against the Bears. I forget who the 4th opponent is off the top of my head, but I'm 100% certain it's in division. I mean, in conference.
yeah. So Eagles 7-2, Lions 8-1.
Oh, actually, it's the Bills. Bills are 1, but also 49ers. So they have 4 games remaining in conference, 1 AFC.
Yep. Eagles got Commanders. Oh, I was wrong on the order. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. And yeah, Lions have Bears, 49ers, Vikings to end. So, and I don't remember what the next tiebreaker is. Is strength of victory, which the Lions have by a lot.
they have been blowing teams out.
Well, yeah. Well, they have a better strength of schedule and strength of victory.
Oh yeah, that's it.
By a lot. Like the Eagles are at 404 strength of victory, Lions at 510 strength of schedule, Lions at 512, Eagles at 419. So anyways, I will say, and I feel like I say this every week now because it's been an excellent 5-week run for the Panthers. Bryce Young's the guy. I mean, the completion percentage isn't great, but some of the throws he made in this game were just ridiculous. And if not for an Xavier Legette drop, I mean, maybe the Eagles still would have won this thing, but it would have had to been on a Jake Elliott field goal, which not been 100% confident in this year, considering he missed another one from 50 plus in this game. But yeah, I mean, have to be happy if you're a Panthers fan with how Bryce Young is playing. And to be honest, keep losing, dude. I mean, it sucks because it puts Bryce's record continuing to be bad. He only has 4 career wins, but at the same time, it's like you're not going to compete this year, but continue to get the chemistry with the young guys. Likely get JT Sanders was back for this game, didn't play a lot. With Adam Thielen, I don't know if he's coming back next year or not, but continue the chemistry and get a high draft pick and get maybe a Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, if you go 3-14, but your last losses look like this, then it's only good for the long term of this franchise.
Right, and 3 straight losses to division leaders by 1 score.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely positive right now.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, not his best game, but 66.7%, 108, 2 touchdown passes, 8 carries, 59 yards, a rushing touchdown. Mentioned Saquon's stats already. Adam Thielen, dude, he's having like a weird career renaissance the last 2 games.
Yeah, someone in my
IR.
someone in my sleeper league made the mistake of waiving him after trying to get me to trade for him, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not interested." And then I just picked him up for free.
Yeah.
He was in my starting lineup, got me 19 points. I was like, sick. I got him for free.
Yeah. Caught 9 of 11 targets for 102. Defensively, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. Zach Bond, 11 tackles, 6 solos, sack, 3 tackles, lost, 2 QB hits. My boy Josie Jewell is very, very close, though. He had a great game. Panthers plus 13.5, covered easily, under 44.5. I had the over, man. I thought there were going to be more points. Steelers beating up on the Browns, 27-14, getting revenge from 2 weeks ago. The snow loss in Cleveland. Does Jameis know? Are we sure his LASIK worked, Jimmy? Because I'm not sure he knows what color he's supposed to be throwing to.
What are you talking about? He had 26 completions, 24 to the Browns, to the Steelers. That's a lot of completions.
Yeah, I mean it's been the turnovers for Cleveland. Is why they haven't won. The last couple of games, and the issue is like they don't have a better option. Like you really want to go back down the DTR road because that worked great last year.
I mean, it is the lost season, so who cares at this point? Just play the high octane, high stress offense of Jameis Winston. Because from Browns fans I've talked to, all they say is at least it's watchable.
Yeah. Oh, when he throws to number 3, definitely is. Yeah, Jameis, 58.5%, 212, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 28 rushing yards. Russell Wilson, not his best game, but 57.7%, 158, 2 touchdowns, 17 yards. He struggled. No George Pickens in this one, so I feel like that's why Russ kind of struggled. The rest of the receiving core wasn't able to get open a lot of the day. And David Njoku, bro, he's had like 15 targets the last 3 games.
Oh yeah, Winston loves him.
Another 13 targets in this one. Caught 7 for 42 and a touchdown. And defensively, I think this is back-to-back games. I'm going with Cam Hayward. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 2 QB hits. Talking about Thielen having a renaissance. Cam Hayward as well. Yeah. Steelers covered, minus 6.5, under 42.5. And don't look now. Pittsburgh's got a chance at the 2 seed. Tied with Buffalo now.
Mm-hmm.
Saints 14-11 over the Giants. You were so close, Jimmy.
How do you have so many stats for such a crap game?
There's a lot of defense. There is a ton of defense. Drew Lock, 42.9%, 227, a pick, 5 carries, 59 yards. Derek Carr injured in this one, 64.5%, 219, touchdown pick, 2 carries for 12 yards. Saints walked it off, essentially. Game tying field goal by Graham Gano, blocked by Brian Bresee, who is my player of the game because he wrecked. He only had 1 tackle. It was a solo, but the rest of his stats, he filled it up. Sack, tackle for loss, 2 pass defense, 2 QB hits, and the game-winning block of the field goal there.
You get the game-winning block. You get the defense player of the game.
Yeah, he's the overall player of the game.
I mean, who else are you gonna pick? Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, 2 double-digit target guys in this one. I mean, Drew Lock threw it 49 times, so there should be. Malik Neighbors, 10 targets, caught 5 for 79. Wan'Dale Robinson, 11, caught 4 for 38 there. I already mentioned Bresee. Giants plus 5.5 did cover, though, under 41.5. Vikings, 42-21 over the Falcons. Go ahead.
My boys. I mean, it didn't feel like a blowout for 3 quarters. In fact, it was tied going in the 4th, but Vikings really locked down in that fourth quarter, outscoring the Falcons 21-0. And I mean, Sam Darnold MVP conversation. Can we start it again? First five passing touchdown game for Minnesota Vikings since Dante Culpepper in 2004. I mean, we had Falcons defensive backs forgetting how to play football, tripping on nothing. It was really funny. I think Justin Jefferson just has that aura that he can make people just completely forget how to stand when around him. And I mean, Addison and Jefferson, my God, if he had both of them in fantasy, I only had Jefferson. But if he had both, he probably won walking away. I'll just read off their stats. Jordan Addison, 8 receptions on 12 targets, 133 yards, 3 tutties. Then Jets with 7 receptions on 7 targets, 132 yards, and 2 tutties. First Viking teammates in franchise history to both have over 100 yards receiving and multiple receiving touchdowns in one game. I mean, what's not to love? And then you had Aaron Jones, very efficient on the ground, 5.6 yards a carry with a tutty. And yeah, spoiled Cousins homecoming. And although he did rack up a lot of yards, they got into the red zone. And kind of like last week against Arizona, Vikings just locked down the red zone. And Kirk Cousins had two picks, still no passing touchdowns. I think that's 4 or 5 games in a row Cousins has not found the end zone through the air while he's thrown 8 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what a downfall for the Falcons. I mean, a lot of people have talked about the Bears going 4-2 and now 4-9. Falcons went 6-2 and now 6-7. I mean,
yeah, they were 6-3.
6-3, now 6-7. I mean,
yeah.
What a turn of events for them.
It's okay though. It's okay. For any fantasy managers that are going into the fantasy playoffs, I'm not probably in the league. I have Cousins. Cousins is a very startable player in the fantasy playoffs. They have a very doable schedule. I know they play the Panthers one of those games. They play the Patriots as well, I think. So if you have Cousins, there's an opportunity in the playoffs against some good matchups defensively. Anyways, you already said about Sammy Boyd, 347, 5 tuds. Best game of his career, easily. Yeah, you already said the stats there. Darnell Mooney actually led the game in receiving, by the way.
Yeah,
Caught
it was crazy.
7 targets for 142.
It was a receiving game. Mooney, Addison, Jefferson, and McLeod. I mean, McLeod was 2 yards away from 100 yards. And London was 30 yards away from 100. So a lot of receiving in this game.
Yeah, Ray McLeod and Drake London up over double-digit targets there. 11 for McLeod, caught 8 for 98 in the fumble. London, 10, caught 5 for 70. Defensive player of the game, Vikings. Defensive tackle Jalen Redmond, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass defense.
Oh, yeah. Number 61.
Vikings cover -5.5, over 46.5, easily 63. Bucks 28-13 over the Raiders, and good news for the Raiders. They have now taken possession of the number 1 overall pick. So good news for Vegas. You get your pick of the quarterbacks. Baker, though, pretty solid. 62.1%, 295, 3 touchdowns. He 12 rushing yards as well. He tried to keep the Raiders in the game, though, 2 picks and a fumble. So, but the Raiders didn't have a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell, 57.9%, 104, a pick, rushing touchdown, and a fumble. Desmond Ridder came in after O'Connell got injured, 66.7%, 101. 2 touchdown day for Rashad White, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. That's because Bucky Irving got injured. Really pissed about that, but it's okay. Jacoby Myers, another 10-target day for him, caught 7 for 67. A lot of defense in this game, and I don't know. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go on the losing side here. I'm going to go the top tackler in the game, safety Trayvon Merrick for the Raiders. 8 tackles, 5 solos, half a sack, 3 pass defense, and a QB hit.
Mm-hmm.
Bucks -6.5, covered under 47.5. First place in the NFC South. Jags, yes, sir. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 10-6 over the Titans. What a game it was. I didn't watch it. Thank the Lord.
I watched the ending. It was pretty pathetic. I had Ridley and Thomas in my fantasy team, so at least they played well.
It's 6-0 for the Titans. Mac Attack brought them back 10 straight unanswered to win the game on a Tank Bigsby rushing touchdown there. Mac Jones really didn't play badly. I mean, 74.2%. He was efficient, 220 yards, did throw the 2 interceptions, but they didn't cost the Jags in the end. Will Levis, 59.4%, 168. Great day for Tony Pollard in the loss. 21 carries, 102 yards, 22 yards receiving on 2 catches as well. I mentioned Bigsby had the game-winning touchdown there, the only touchdown of the game. Brian Thomas, Calvin Ridley, like you said, 12 targets apiece. Thomas, 8 for 86. Ridley, 7 for 59. And quite a bit of defense in this game. I'm going with the winning team there. Jaguars corner Jerry Jones, the rookie out of FSU. 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense, and a QB hit. Jags, baby. Got the win and covered. Went outright. Plus 3.5. Under 40.5. Quite easily. And from that game to this game, Dolphins 32-26 in overtime over the Jets. And I know you loved talking about the Jets this weekend, Jimmy, watching the rest of this game.
I think the final 3 plays they had in regulation with the ball were some of the genuinely most hilarious plays I've seen in a while. They start off with a run, which was on first down, which is obviously the right thing to do. They got stuffed at the line, but it didn't matter. Miami had 2 timeouts. I called 1. Next play, Rodgers drops back the pass, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? This is stupid. I turn out to be right as usual because he gets sacked, basically putting him out of field goal range. Final timeout. There's like a minute 9 left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
So Miami no longer is a timeout. Still a tie game. All you need is a couple yards. And they call it a pass play. And he throws it down the sideline. It's a completed catch, and I'm shocked. And I'm thinking, I forget who caught it. Was it Devontae Adams? I think it was Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, all right, drop to the ground. Immediately drop to the ground. Don't even try to keep moving forward. Just stop. And I drop to the ground. Make it go from like a minute, like 2 to like, what's 40 seconds after that? Like 22 seconds. And then call a timeout and game's over. No, he goes out of bounds because he's a moron. And they make the field goal. They take the lead, 26-23, with a minute and 2 left. Malik Washington, great return. And now Miami, although no timeouts, there's like 58 seconds, like 50 seconds left on the clock. Easy. I knew the second I saw it, like easily they're getting in the field goal range. And they did. Dolphins get the ball first. Jets can't do crap on defense. Easy touchdown for Jonnu Smith. And I'm blown away. I'm like blown away from the play calling to the decision making by players on the field to the lackluster defense. Yes, I know they're missing key players by me. This is a winnable game if Devontae Adams had the slightest bit of understanding of how game management worked and clock management and just stopped his forward momentum and didn't allow himself to get pushed out of bounds going forward. Like, what are you doing? It was embarrassing.
And this was one of the better games for Rodgers this year, 69.2%, 339 a score. But yeah, Tua was masterful in the fourth quarter and overtime, 70.2%, 331, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, like you said. Neither team could run the ball. No Breece Hall for the Jets. Braylon Allen struggled just under 4 yards per carry there, 39 total yards. Isaiah Davis was actually pretty solid, though. He averaged 4 yards per carry right there with the touchdown. Devon Achane at 1.7 yards per carry, just 24 rushing yards. But, of course, the PPR monster helps you out in fantasy, thankfully. Big receiving numbers, 3 guys up over 100, 1 just short. Tyreek, 10 for 115 touchdown. 14 targets. Garrett Wilson had 10 targets, 7 for 114. Devontae, 11 targets, 9 for 109 and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 12 targets, 9 for 99. And what was crazy about the overtime is Jonnu didn't have a catch the whole day. And in overtime, he catches 3 for 44 and a touchdown on 4 targets. That was crazy. Defensively, it's the Dolphins' defense tackle, Zach Sealer, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits. And it's a difficult path. I will say that for the Dolphins. I need them to win out, Jimmy, to hit their win total this year. They need to win out to hit the win total. At the Texans, host the 49ers, at the Browns, at the Jets. What do we think?
The next 2 weeks are going to be tough. Although Texans, they're hard to read, and 49ers are kind of the same. The 49ers are looking to get hot, kind of in the same situation as the Dolphins, trying to win out to make it to the playoffs. And Texans I can never read them. So yeah, these next 2 weeks are going to be difficult. But if they can be 8-7, I have no reason to believe they can't go 10-7. I mean, the last 2 weeks are jokes, really. I don't have any reason to believe if they can't win the first 2, they can't win the last 2.
Cold games, though, probably. At Cleveland, at the Jets.
True. But at that point, you're facing teams that are openly tanking. Like, Jets probably won't even be starting Rodgers in that game. I can almost guarantee it. Like, they'll be like, 4-12 at best. Do you think they're going to realistically want to start Rodgers at that game? Probably not.
Rodgers will start himself.
Fair point, but still, I feel like
it's just tough.
Upper management will step in.
This 3 out of the last 4 is tough on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Jets covered, though, plus 6.5 by the hook, thankfully, for Jets spread bettors. They don't kick the extra point in overtime. So that's how they covered. Over 45.5 easily, 58. Seahawks 30-18 over the Cardinals. Yeah, why do I pick the Cardinals? I don't know.
I knew better.
Kyler struggled again against the Seahawks for the second straight game this year. 65.8%, 259, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 16 rushing yards. Geno, very efficient, 80%, but only 233 yards a touchdown. I needed more from you, Geno, in fantasy. Zach Charbonnet, this was his game. No Kenneth Walker for Seattle in this one. 22 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ridiculous receiving number. 7 targets for 59 yards. Where the hell has that been from the running backs in Seattle this year? James Conner actually had a good game in the loss. 122 total scrimmage yards and the receiving touchdown. 14 target day for Trey McBride. Your guys caught 7 for 70. And defensively, I'm going to go with Seattle linebacker, defensive end Leonard Williams, 7 tackles, 3 solos, 2 tackles lost, pass defensed. Buda Baker, though, how about 18 tackles for him in this game?
Yeah.
Seahawks continue to have a 1-game lead in the NFC West, plus 3.5. Win outright over 45.5. Another NFC West team, 44-42 for the Rams over the Bills in LA. This was a ridiculous game. The crazy thing was Josh Allen was inefficient, 59.5%. But he threw for 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, 82 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. First player ever to throw for 3, run for 3 in a game. After he became the first ever player last week to pass, run, and receive a touchdown in the same game.
I think he's the first QB since Otto Graham with 3-3. I don't think he's the first ever.
I thought he was. I thought they said he was.
I thought it was with Otto Graham, but Otto Graham didn't like the 50s. So.
Well, anyways, the highest fantasy point total ever, 51.88, is what Field Yates said. Sure. In my leagues, it was 57 on my bench.
He was on the other side for me. He kicked me out of the playoff space single-handedly.
This Rams team, though, Stafford is heating them up. 76.7%, 322 touchdowns. Kyron Williams with 2 scores. Puka Nacua just was crazy. 14 targets, caught 12 for 162, a touchdown, 16 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. Cup scored as well. And it was just crazy, the offensive production in this game. Khalil Shakir for Buffalo as well, 5 for 106 on 8 targets and a touchdown. Cooper, 14 targets for him, caught 6 for 95. And the interesting thing in this game, the Bills couldn't run the ball. like Josh Allen was the rushing offense. James Cook was the leading non-quarterback with only 20 yards on 6 carries. Not a lot of defense. But I'm going to go with Bills corner Christian Benford. 8 tackles, 6 of them solos, 2 pass defense. Rams, 1 game back in the NFC West, plus 3.5. They went outright over 50.5. Dude, the afternoon games were just ridiculously gross from my standpoint. 49ers demolishing the Bears, 38-13. Brock Purdy was good. 80%, 325, 2 touchdowns, 11 rushing yards. Caleb Williams, I can't gauge what the Bears are right now. I mean, 73.9%, 134, 2 touchdowns, 27 rushing yards, and a fumble. I have no clue.
I mean, I think this one stat should really put a lot of it in perspective. He's been sacked 6 or more times in a game 3 times this season. Like, it's really bad. Like, I'm not going to sit here and only blame his offensive line. He also has a tendency to do what a lot of rookies do, which is to hold the ball too long. He really does. He holds the ball too long, and he doesn't trust his legs to get him outside the pocket. And I think that has a lot to do with coaching philosophy and trying to teach him to be a pocket passer. But, yeah, he really just, after 3 beats, well, if this offensive line basically 2 beats, you just gotta evade. You just gotta move. You gotta move out of the pocket. You gotta move out of the tackle box, and just see if the play develops. But yeah, I mean, it's all hands on deck for how pathetic the Bears have been in terms of just making Williams the player he's supposed to be. Williams isn't doing himself any favors. Coaching staff isn't doing him any favors. Offensive line isn't doing him any favors. I mean, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. And you're just hoping, if you're a Bears fan, you're just hoping that you can survive the season. Really, that's it. You're hoping to survive the season with Caleb Williams walking away without any, bad habits or tendencies.
Bro, literally, this is the Jets, the NFC. When you look at it, what do they look like on paper? They should be a playoff team at the very worst on paper with the guys they have on offense and defense. It's the same thing as the Jets. They both fired their head coach. Both moved on from their offensive coordinator before they fired their head coach. Mm-hmm. It's literally the only difference is they have a rookie quarterback versus Aaron Rodgers, 38. So,
yeah, it's really weird. It's hard to read with this Bears team. And again, I feel like if you're the Bears, you're kind of hoping to lose out, and you want to get who's that offensive lineman? I think he's from Bama.
I got Kelvin Banks from Texas.
Kelvin Banks from Texas.
A lot of people think he's the number 1 guy, but
yeah, I think that's your priority. If you're the Bears, you really just kind of are hoping to go like 4-13, 5-12, getting that top 5 pick and getting the best offensive lineman in the draft, because it's clear you need one, and not just linemen. You need guards and you need a center. I mean, that 5-man unit is just bad. It really is bad.
Yeah, remember they have an extra second too from the Bryce Young trade still. That's the last pick of the Bryce Young trade, the second rounder this year. Another issue with the offensive line, they haven't been able to run the ball. DeAndre Swift is having a terrible season rushing the ball. George Kittle went off though, caught all 6 for 151. I don't think he had a reception that was under 20 yards in this game. It seemed like every time I looked up, Brock Purdy was slinging it deep to George Kittle. Jawan Jennings, big day for him. 8 targets, caught 7 for 92 touchdowns there. 2 touchdowns for Roma Dunze as well on his 5 targets. And then defensively, dude, it's Yatorgos Matos for the 49ers. 4 tackles, all of them solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles lost, 3 QB hits. Niners minus 3.5 covered over 43.5. 51. Chiefs last night locking up the AFC West 19-17 over the Chargers. Walk-off field goal by Matthew Wright. The doink for the division is what everyone's calling it. Matthew Wright doesn't like it, but it's fine. Herb's 70%, 213 touchdown, 4 carries for 12 yards. Mahomes, again, type of games that he's been having this season. Not great, but good enough to win. 64.9%, 210 touchdown, 17 rushing yards. And I mentioned last time, Jimmy, Taylor might be a voodoo priestess. She wasn't there though this time. She wasn't there.
She left her like witch bags in the locker rooms and press boxes in the stadium. Like I could feel them as I watched. I felt their evil presence through the laptop screen. I felt, something was up. I think she left, a couple sigils there, a couple just like offerings. I mean, there's no way to explain it, man. I think that's it. I think that's what we're seeing here.
The way that the Chiefs have won this year.
I mean, I'm
insane.
I'm not even kidding. I'm getting such 2022 Vikings vibes. And again, knowing how unlucky the Vikings organization has been, unlike losing in the first round like the Vikings did, this team is absolutely going to somehow stumble to make a Super Bowl appearance.
Be the first team ever to win 3 in a row.
Honestly, I wouldn't doubt it, because this magic, it's unstoppable. I wonder how many people are going to suddenly drop dead after the season because they've offered their souls for this three-peat.
I was pissed. Travis Kelce needed one more reception for me to cash. Very pissed. Defensively, the Ongo, Chiefs defense tackle Tershawn Wharton. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits. Chargers plus 5.5 covered under 43.5. No breaking news. Coaching carousel, though. It's that time of year in college, and like I said, the transfer portal opened at midnight today. So it's been a lot today with coaching news and transfers. But App State, they have their new guy, South Carolina offensive coordinator Dowell Loggins is their new head coach in Boone, North Carolina. UCF has fired a familiar face. It is former UCF and Nebraska head coach Scott Frost. Coached at Nebraska last in 2022, coached UCF in 2016, 2017. He was the coach that took them to their self-proclaimed national championship, undefeated in 2017 there. Charlotte has a new head coach. They hired Ohio head coach Tim Albin. It's very interesting. Him and you look at Southern Miss getting Marshall head coach Charles Huff. 2 guys that just won conference titles, and they're leaving their school. It's kind of crazy, especially Huff. I feel like the Sun Belt is better than, or I guess, no, Southern Miss is in the Sun Belt, but he's going from Marshall to Southern Miss. I don't know what the reasoning is. Maybe they're paying him more. I don't know. The Tim Albin thing makes more sense to me, though. He's going from the MAC to the AAC, so I'm sure there is more money, even in a difficult program like Charlotte. Tulsa, they have hired one of the brightest young stars in coaching. East Tennessee State head coach Trey Lamb is their new head man there. Central Michigan hiring a interesting one. They hired Army offensive lineman coach Matt Drinkle as their head coach. He was the former Kansas Wesleyan head coach in NAIA from 2014 to 18. Has been with Army for a while, but 42-17 record there. One-time Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference title, 2-time NAIA playoff appearances as well. Marshall, they moved pretty quickly after Charles Huff left for Southern Miss. They hired NC State defensive coordinator Tony Gibson as their head coach. And West Virginia, they are interviewing an interesting guy. St. Louis Battlehawks head coach Anthony Becht is in the mix there for the West Virginia head coaching job. Transfer portal, I'm just going to run through them. Western Kentucky quarterback TJ Finley, New Mexico quarterback Devin Dampier, running back Eli Sanders as well. He has visits with Michigan State and Arizona set up. UNLV corner Tony Grimes, Tulane quarterback Darian Mensah, Marshall quarterback Braylon Braxton, Arizona linebacker Jacob Manu, Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. He's got visits scheduled with Syracuse, Colorado, and Florida State. UAB quarterback Jacob Zeno, visit set up with Texas A&M. Ohio State quarterback Devin Brown is on the move. Akron running back Charles Kellum, Michigan State tight end Antonio Gates Jr., Coastal Carolina quarterback Ethan Vasco, and edge rusher Clev Lubin. I think Lubin's going to make a ton of NIL money. He had a great year. South Alabama running back Fluff Bothwell, Rice quarterback EJ Warner, Kent State safety Josh Baca, and wide receiver Creashawn McCray. He has a visit with Michigan State. Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton visiting Georgia and Auburn. Please, Georgia, please. Kentucky running back Tip Trayanum. USC defense tackle Bear Alexander. Visit set up with SMU, Penn State, and Oregon. North Texas quarterback Chandler Morris and wide receiver DT Sheffield. Oklahoma tight end Bauer Sharp. Wide receiver Nick Anderson, who has visits with LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida. Houston wide receiver Joseph Manjack. UL Monroe quarterback General Booty. He's in the portal. Georgia wide receiver Michael Jackson. Oklahoma State wide receiver DeJon Stribling, Kentucky wide receiver Barry and Brown, and quarterback Gavin Wimsatt. Wisconsin quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, UTSA running back Kavorian Barnes, and Arkansas State quarterback Timmy McClain. Notable names in the portal of the 553 names in the portal to this point. One draft declaration as well. Texas A&M defensive lineman Shamar Stewart has declared for the draft. Also want to note Georgia update on Carson Beck. No timeline for his return yet. They're running through the options in terms of rehab for his elbow injury. So more than likely, we're going to see Gunnar Stockton as a starter for the Bulldogs when we see them in the second round of the CFP. NFL news. The NFL announced they're going to play a game in Berlin in 2025. That's going to be the only game in Germany this year, going from Munich this year to Berlin next year. So there you go. IR, Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert with a knee injury. Browns defense tackle Maurice Hurst II with an ankle. And offensive tackle Jedrick Wills Jr. with a knee injury. Chiefs wide receiver Mecole Hardman also placed on IR. A couple guys returning. 49ers safety Talanoa Hufanga. Commanders wide receiver Jamison Crowder get his practice window open. Who even knew Jameson was still back on the Commanders? I know he re-signed this all season, but been on IR for a while. Texans getting a couple guys back. Linebacker Christian Harris, leg injury, and offensive lineman Kenyon Green with a shoulder injury. Going into the injuries from the weekend, Saints quarterback Derek Carr, fractured left hand, out multiple weeks. He's also in concussion protocol. They're not going to put him on IR, they said. They want to keep the hope open that he can return this year, but more than likely, we'll see. He probably won't return. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. No surgery needed, though, luckily for him on his hand. Bucs safety Antoine Winfield, he's going to be out several weeks with a knee sprain. Big blow to the Bucs secondary there. And, dude, Panthers rookie running back Jonathan Brooks retore his right ACL yesterday, out for the season. I mean, dude, my heart just breaks for the kid. I mean, second time he's tore this ACL in the last 13 months. And it's like second round pick and high hopes, second game back or third game back. And it's just like, bro, like, why can this man not catch a break? He's so talented. And I mean, I haven't seen a lot, but from what I have seen, he's a good dude as well. So it's just a tough one, man. For the Raiders, quarterback Aiden O'Connell, he has a bone bruise on his knee. Desmond Ridder likely going to start Monday Night Football next week if Aiden O'Connell can't go. 49ers running back Isaac Garendo, he has a foot sprain. Not sure, though, if he's going to be able to play short week Thursday Night Football against the Rams. One signing, the Chiefs getting some reinforcements in the secondary. They signed Texans corner Steven Nelson to the practice squad, played with the Chiefs prior to that as well. Pick standings. You and John got Logan and I last week, so you, sir, are closing in. You are one game back now.
Yes, sir.
So last week, we all got the Broncos right on Monday against the Browns, but you and John went with the Lions on Thursday over the Packers that Logan and I had. So I am down at the bottom now with John. We're 3 games back. Not a lot of games to go, but it'll be interesting because we are picking some college games on this show coming up for the CFP. But yeah. Tonight, Bengals, 5.5-point favorites in Dallas against the Cowboys. Both teams fighting for their playoff lives. But we are all on Cincinnati, which I think most of America is.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is horrendous defense, and their defense plays horrendously when at home. So, I mean, for the Bengals, you got to hope to score more than like 35 because your defense is also bad. But it's not like the Cowboys have much going for them on the offensive side. So holding them under 20 while you score over 30 should be the expectation here. I would expect a score of like 38-17 here.
Yeah, so how many points do I need from Rico Dowdle in our law school league to get the number 1 seed away from John here? Let's see.
Probably a lot.
That's my only hope. I'm okay with having the number 2 seed. It's okay. I need 25.1 points from Rico Dowdle tonight.
I wouldn't put money on it.
He's projected at 14.5.
I mean, the Bengals run defense is pretty bad. So who knows? Maybe you can get a couple rushing touchdowns, but still.
Focal point of the offense tonight.
Yeah.
Screw CeeDee Lamb.
You see how many drops he had on Thanksgiving? Can't trust him.
Yeah, total was 49.5 tonight. We rolling the over here.
I'm rolling over. I think neither team's defense is going to be able to really make a stop. And I think the Bengals offense is good enough to score at least 30. I think Dallas offense is at least going to get a touchdown or 2, I think.
My only concern with the over is these defenses going up against these offensive lines. That is the one concern. Because neither offensive line is very good either.
That's fair.
Especially with Zach Martin on IR for the Cowboys. 8:15 p.m. ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus. And if you are so inclined, they're having the stupid Simpsons thing on Disney Plus.
Yes, sir. Disney Plus.
I don't have that. Rams at the 49ers on Thursday. Yeah, we don't have Logan's pick, so I did not show it this time. It's better than having a non-team logo there, like we usually do. But anyways, I really can't speak on what Logan is picking because I feel like this is a toss-up game with how these two teams are playing. Right now, though, Jimmy, you are lone wolfing currently, but we're not going to sound the alarm because we don't know.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Thursday night games have always been wacky, and both these teams are desperate not just to make the playoffs, but try to win their division. 49ers are coming off a dominating win against the Bears. Rams are coming off a very impressive win against the Super Bowl favorite in the Bills. And when it's kind of up in the air like this, I usually look to – honestly, it really is just home team advantage. I think if you look at Thursday night football this year, I think the home team has won all but like maybe one game this season. Like the home team on Thursday night is favored like all the time, and I'm gonna keep the home team pick going. This is such a tough pick. Legitimately, I typed in Rams in my text before removing it for 49ers because I really do think the only thing that's going in the 49ers' favor right now is home field advantage, and I think that's going to be enough. And they played really well against the Bears. Plus, having what's his name? Having Hufanga come back, he's a pretty big part of this team. I think that's going to be a really big help against a very pass-heavy offense with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp on the other side.
Yeah, so there have been, let's see, 4, 5, 6. There have been a lot of home teams or actually no. There have been about 4, I think. 5. I think there's been 5 home team losses on Thursdays this year.
Yeah, Miami lost week 2. Dallas won week. New York lost week 4. Seattle lost to San Fran week 6. New Orleans to Denver. Yeah, but since then, it's been since week 7. It's been all home team. Week 8, Rams. Week 9, Jets. Week 10, Baltimore. Week 11, Philly. Week 12, Cleveland over Pittsburgh. And then all 3 Thanksgiving games, too.
Yep.
Plus the Friday night game. And then last week Lions. So picking home team is kind of the move right now, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I just think the Rams are going for the sweep. They beat the 49ers early in the year, 27-24, in that comeback, crazy fourth quarter comeback, down 10 points. And I just don't know. The 49ers might be down to their 4th string running back in this game with Patrick Taylor as the starter, potentially. I have no clue who they have after him. I would think Kyle Juszczyk and Deebo Samuel are probably going to be more involved in the run game than they are, or they have been lately. So it's going to be tough, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to run the ball. You saw what the Bills were unable to do. James Cook just 20 yards rushing, and Brock Purdy, while he is athletic, he's not Josh Allen in the running game. So I think that's going to be an issue for the 49ers. I don't think they're going to have their play action like that. Interesting to see if Trent Williams or Nick Bosa play in this game, because they didn't play against the Bears. Not sure if that was to keep them out for this game and make sure they're 100% for a divisional matchup. But yeah, like we've been saying, it's kind of a toss-up game, and we'll see. I'm on the Rams because they've been hot. They're one of the hottest teams in the league after a bad start like they did last year. Just last year, they did the same thing. Started very poorly. Injuries galore. And now look, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp are healthy. And they've been rolling on offense. Total is 48.5. I'm going with the under. I know I just said all that offense, but I'm going with the under because it's a division game on a short week. And I think the Rams defense is going to hold the 49ers down a little bit because of their ability, more than likely, is going to be one-dimensional. 8:15 p.m. Prime Video. And that is the show. Next week, be back talking NFL Week 15 closers. We have the final doubleheader of Monday night. We got the Bears at the Vikings and the Falcons at the Raiders. Week 16 Thursday night game is another divisional one. AFC West, Broncos at the Chargers. Big one as well. The AFC West already locked up by Kansas City, but Broncos, Chargers, 2 of the 3 teams still fighting there for those wild card spots. That could be big in terms of seeding. I think the Chargers beat them already. I could be wrong. I didn't check the schedule real quick, but yeah, big one to start week 16 off next week. So don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast and Instagram and X, FA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio. And enjoy Army Navy coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that on Friday, but we will see y'all later.